Welcome to the podcast of Terrace.
Welcome to a new episode of the podcast. I have a pleasure today of having Mr. Pedro Piccoli, who is a very seasoned revenue manager, not the usual profile. I've been having a lot of different guests in the last few weeks, purely coming from hotels, and he's coming from completely different, well, it's still part of the industry, but not hotels. And I think he can bring a lot of good light and good tips and advice when it comes to managing revenue outside of hotels. Pedro, how are you?
Hi, Paulo. Very good. Thanks a lot for having me here today. Yeah.
My pleasure. Thanks for accepting to give some of your time. And let's go straight into the questions then. We're saying revenue, but not hotel revenue. So can you describe briefly how your career has been so far?
Yes, sure. Let's try to do it in a brief way. So I started my career more related to pricing, more focused on pricing in the beginning. I had my first experience at Parker Hannifin, completely different from hotel industry or anything I'm doing now. So it was an industry from US, so manufacturing hydraulic components for industrial and agricultural machines. So in the pricing there, what we would do was more static pricing, let's say, so long-term agreements. We adjusted prices for distributors once per year and this kind of thing. So of course, a bit of value-based pricing when developing new products for a specific application, but in general, it was not very dynamic. But it gave me a bit of a very good background to start developing even further in the pricing and revenue management. So after 6.5 years at Parker, I joined as the revenue management team at Heineken, the brewery company. So this one is a bit more known. And yes, then I was responsible for revenue management in the south of Brazil. And of course, then it was a bit more dynamic, still not as online sales, of course, but we would be able to push promotions from one day to the other and but reduce prices in a more agile way, if you want to say it. And also seeing results in a much faster way. And also the beer industry in Brazil is quite a competitive market. So you need to be fast, of course. And so Heineken, for example, in Brazil, they have several different brands. So it's a market with a very segmented kind of product. So you can have one economy beer brand to people with lower income, and also Heineken as a premium brand, for example, and also a very segmented market. So you have prices for movie theaters, for fancy restaurants, for small grocery shops, or for big retail chains. So very segmented in the sense of the channel you are selling as well. And then after a couple of months at Heineken, I was invited to move to Munich. There is where I am now. To join the pricing and yields team at Flixbus. So then that's when it actually started to get more related to the hotel industry and also more dynamic. So we will work only with dynamic pricing. In the beginning, I was responsible for pricing and yield for the markets of Spain and Portugal. So we were starting our business there. So it was a really fun experience to develop the market, to create a whole pricing strategy for Portugal. And in my last months at Flixbus, I started to move to this the department that was created related to operations research. And that's when we started to apply artificial intelligence automatizations to help us to steer the price of our rides. And things were getting really advanced there. It was really nice to see that. But then I received an offer to start working at Sixt, the car rental company, also more related to leisure and travels. And here I'm working as an executive advanced profit management team, as you mentioned. So also working with artificial intelligence and how this can be combined with pricing and revenue management. So to summing up, that this is how I've been developing so far.
Okay, which is a great career, different industries, different companies, and different countries. So
exactly.
The usual career within the revenue. Well, why revenue? I mean, all your career has been related to pricing and revenue. Why revenue out of all things?
Yeah, that's true. Well, from one side, things started to happen in this direction, and I really enjoyed, and I wanted to develop also in this direction. I think that there's a strong interaction with the business side. So with performance and seeing how to increase revenue, how to make more money, how to increase profitability. So this relations, that this part of the business of working with revenue, I think it's really nice. But also on the other side, I love the fact that you can actually see how customers are reacting to your strategy, or to understand what their needs are. Okay, you can play around with prices and see if you can get more demand more in advance, or if you can increase a lot your price for short-term demand. So I think it's really nice to have this this connection with the end consumer, and also try to see how different changes you can make will affect the decision making. And this is what I think it's one of the nicest part of working with revenue. So you have both sides. You can definitely drive your company to very strong profitability, and at the same time you can see the impact on customers. You can give them lower prices, make more people use your product, and this is what I like the most. That's basically why I work a lot with this aspect.
Mm-hmm. Revenue and pricing. All right. And throughout your career, I mean, you've been evolving a lot in different companies and countries. You were saying before, any mentor, anyone who's you can mention, well, that person really helped me, was a guiding person in my career.
Yeah, I think, of course. I mean, probably a lot of mentors, especially if you, as I passed through 4 different very large companies. So of course, a lot of mentors also from university, but I think that there are also 2 different types of mentors I may have had. So mentors more into pricing theory and pricing strategy, revenue management, from how to build it and how to apply it, how to make the best out of it. But also some people that were kind of mentors in the business side, or people management and this kind of thing. So yes, I would say that maybe 2 mentors that really made a difference. So there is a Wilson Hikoi that was my first boss when I was starting at Parker. So I was maybe 20 years old, and he was already like the Latin America manager for pricing. And then we had a really nice connection. I still in contact with him until these days. We participated on a project in the beginning of this year together, where we wrote a book together. So it's really nice to still have this contact with him and see how we're developing together now. And I think the other mentor I would say was Gonzalo, so my last boss at Flixbus, that was also very skilled in revenue management and pricing, but also helped me a lot on people management skills. So how to deal with people, how to make people deliver what you want, and take the best out of your colleagues and your employees. So I think these 2 are some really strong references I have.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and we were discussing before we started recording about the concept of revenue management when it comes to hospitality and other industries, and probably hospitality can learn still a lot from other industries. So you've been in different ones, in consumer goods with Heineken, for example, buses, now rent a car. So what do you think could be the main tips that the hospitality could learn from other industries when it comes to revenue management?
Yeah, so I think that there is always, especially from my experience, when as you said, I worked in very different types of industries, and I always could bring some aspects from one to the other, or some ideas from one to the other. So I truly believe that you can always combine things from one industry into the other. Industries can definitely learn from each other. So I never worked in a hotel industry, maybe in the future, who knows? But from what I know, as together with the airlines, it was kind of the pioneer of applying revenue management back in the days. But I think that maybe now, from my perspective, from what I can see, I think it's more into like a more traditional kind of business now, traditional kind of industry. So I have the feeling that not too many technologies, new technologies, are being applied in the hotel industry. I think that there are a lot of opportunities on this side. So especially as most of sales, most of reservations are made online, there's a lot of information you can get from your customers. And this can be used in both sides. So you can try to find, according to this data, which of our customers are more price sensitive or not. So which are price elastics or not. And then you can actually make cheaper prices for the customers that are not willing to pay more. And of course, higher prices for the ones that are, they have the willingness to pay more. So you can, of course, make more revenue, increase your occupation with that. But the main idea, I think, is that there is a lot of technologies available that might also be applied. As I just said, now in my current job, we are trying to check several different applications of artificial intelligence that can actually generate us profits. And I think the same thing could also be done in the hotel industry. So there are a lot of opportunities. And as I said, I mean, I've never worked in the hotel industry, but I kind of have the feeling that there is not too much new technology and people are not really developing into this direction. So as I said, trying to find who are your customers, using this this benefit that all the sales are being done online, mostly of the sales are being done online, and try to get more insights on that and try to use this as a power tool to improve, to boost business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. The thing is, usually, I mean, generally speaking, in the hospitality industry, mostly the big companies, they do have the technology, they've invested on it, but it's independent hotels, they usually don't have it, and smaller hotels, they tend to be behind when it comes to that, historically, because it used to be very expensive technology.
Exactly.
But nowadays you have a lot of like software as a service companies, like providers, which can help.
That's what I was going to say. So of course, the investment. So yeah, as I said, I worked in very big companies, and of course, these companies are willing to invest, and it's important for them to develop in this way. But at the same time, there are several consultancy companies or softwares you can buy that will give you this sort of intelligence, or that will give you the data you need. So because in the end, this is it's a big market. So there are a lot of people supplying artificial intelligence and data scientists tools that you can use. So if you have a small hotel chain, that of course you don't need to hire a bunch of data scientists and software developers and create everything on your own. I mean, it doesn't make sense. But yeah, there are other sources you can go to develop in this way.
Yeah, true. Mm-hmm. And have you seen, from your perspective, any changes when it comes to revenue management, post-pandemic? Or if we can say we're post-pandemic. So I mean, in the current scenario, so before and now. So wherever we are now, call it the new normal, even if I hate the term, but is the revenue management adapting, or had it had to adapt to it?
Yeah, I think it had to adapt. We already had to adapt last year, in March, when things started to shut down. Everything was started all countries were started to get in lockdowns. So of course, revenue management had to adapt to it. So basically, of course, in some situations, hotels and also buses, when I was working at Flixbus, everything was closed. But in some situations, you would be able to open it. And then, okay, how do you try to bring demand? Is it only with prices, or do we need to advertise more? Do we need to show them it's safe, or should we test people in front of the hotel? So of course, it's a lot of combinations of things that need to work together. But of course, revenue management is one of these parts. And this is something also that I think for now, now we are in the ramping up phase. So things are started to reopen. We can see more people on the street, and hopefully we'll have a decent summer in a couple of next months. So I think that, yes, the demand, so what happened last year was we need to adapt to the lockdown and to everything being shut down. So, and we didn't have the data for that. There was no like previous year that was similar, nothing to compare with it. And we just had to, somehow adapt it and do the best things we could do at the time. And now I see something similar, but in the other way. So now we are going to have a really strong ramp up that we don't have also data to rely on. So people are really, they really want to travel. They really want to experience the world again. And I think that the demand for hotels or for buses or cars will be really strong. And again, in this situation, we will also not have data from previous years or previous season, because nothing is compared to what I believe is going to be like the demand for this next period.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, so I think we need to already try to prepare ourselves for that somehow. So not offering that our cheapest prices, or try to have at least a higher minimum price, these kind of things, or reserve some offer for the short-term bookings. Because yes.
And I guess that's when it comes to artificial intelligence, machine learning, to help you fastly in a fast way to learn as with the technology how to apply the best prices, right?
Yeah, of course. It also depends, because sometimes artificial intelligence, so of course, is intelligent, but it takes some time to learn. And if you are ramping up too fast, basically almost no algorithm will be able to respond that fast. Of course, it depends, but as we've been for the past 6 months with a very low demand, and then suddenly you have a very strong demand, it's very tricky for an algorithm to do everything by itself. So what I also think from my previous jobs and what I'm doing now is that it's quite impossible, very difficult to have only an algorithm doing everything or rely only on an algorithm. So the best thing to try to have is a combination. You need to have some revenue managers or price managers that will need to follow with the algorithm and tell them, okay, now you are doing some horrible decisions. I will make the decisions, because the algorithm in the end is based on data. So if we have 6 months of non-relevant data, then the outcomes that he will create will also not be relevant. So it's the classic sentence that garbage in is garbage out. So that's basically it, I guess.
You have to feel good info, yeah. True.
Yeah. So that's why you need to have in the end a revenue manager, someone that will maybe sometimes actually steer the algorithm and tell the algorithm, okay, now you need to be more aggressive. This is the time to reduce prices, because it might generate some problems.
Mm-hmm. I mean, now in the hotel industry mainly, the talk is that revenue managers should be more strategist. So you leave the pricing to the machine, that's why the software, and the revenue is more like sort of a commercial role, is moving towards being a commercial role and thinking more on the commercial strategy of the hotel. I don't know if other industries like yours, for example, is it similar approach?
Yeah, I think that, so the idea is to use artificial intelligence to do the manual work or the operation part. So change prices. Okay, we reach it a certain level of occupation. Should we increase prices, or we are arriving to the peak season? So this can be done by the machine. So we don't need to click in the buttons and change it manually. So what we can do is actually give the right inputs to the machine. So tell them, okay, peak season is during this months, or here you have a very special holiday, or you can see that it's not working, or that something happened, that there is a big event coming up, or if that a new competitor opened a hotel right next to the street. So in these cases, the machine will not learn, or it might learn, but it will take time to learn. And usually we don't want to wait a lot or lose business because the machine is learning. So that's why sometimes it's very important to have this integration and have someone that can also have this strategical view to give the inputs and control it somehow.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what I move now into what we call total revenue in the hotel industry, which is trying to maximize the income coming from, or the revenue coming from different departments. So in a hotel, you could have rooms, F&B, could be events, and any sort of ancillary revenue. Is that something that it's used in other industries as well, that term? Or because I think, again, that hotels can learn a lot, for example, from rent a car or other industries when it comes to maximizes every source of income, right?
Yeah. So I think in car rental companies and also in bus companies or airline companies, there are different sources of revenue for sure. not only the core of the business. So for example, when I was working in the bus industry, so you can charge people to choose their seats, or if they want to take an extra bag, or if they want to cancel their ticket, or something that was actually maybe some companies made a lot of money in the recent times, was to charge the cancellation fee. So if you have a cancellation fee, there is also a source of revenue. So the idea is you need to somehow combine it, and also try to understand the cross elasticities between these different things you are selling. So if, for example, you increase the price of your ticket, how much can you vary or increase the price to actually select which seat you want to take, or if you want to take an extra bag. So if you decrease the price of the passage or the ticket, how can you vary the price of the extra bag? So there are combinations, the right combinations or optimal combinations for these prices. And this is definitely something difficult, especially because you usually have less data for the ancillaries. Usually you don't have that many bookings with extra bag, or that many bookings with cancellation fee, or that many bookings that people actually buy to choose their seats. So in this case, you usually have less data to rely your decisions on. So this is something that I think it makes more difficult. So as you said, in the hotel industry, so usually you have less people reserving the event room than you have of people booking like your regular rooms, right? So then you have, this is a tricky point about it. But I agree with what you said. I mean, in the end, you need to try to drive everything together, right? There's need to be an alignment, and there's need to be like one overall view of the business, and try to make as much money as you can with all the possible aspects. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, and I think it applies to every industry, finding that balance between maximizing the income and the revenue and giving a good service, obviously, regardless of the level of you are. Doesn't matter if you are in low cost or the ultra luxury, it's still you want to provide the best service you can. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, it depends. Now you just said about like the low cost industries. So if you think about air flight companies, if you think about Ryanair, for example, so they make a lot of money with ancillaries, and that's basically kind of their strategy. But yeah, it will depend on the business. So they probably have much more information about it, because I think a lot of people turn out to book with this features, these extra features. But it's interesting. It's a combination that is really hard, but in the end can actually generate a lot of profits.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. So moving now into the last couple of questions, as always, advice for young people. So why would anyone be interested in revenue? So I'm thinking of somebody studying hospitality management, that sort of studies. And I mean, it's very broad. They can go in a lot of different directions. Yeah. Why would you invite anyone to go into revenue?
Yeah, so I think that's what I said in the beginning. That's at least what I really like about it. So when working with revenue, you can really generate an impact in the business, profit side, also increase the demand. So there are several things you can do, increase occupation, and these are things that are also related to other parts of the business. So I think that usually a good revenue manager, he will be completely integrated in the whole business of the hotel. So to understand if all the rooms are available, if there's something special coming up, or if something needs to be changed quickly. So in the end, you are kind of integrated with everything that is going on. You can generate a very high impact in profitability. And then the other thing I said, I mean, you have this experience with the customer. So you need to understand who your customers are, or for each moment you are setting a price, you need to think, okay, which target group or which segment of my customers I want to tackle with this price, which will be the outcome of it. And so you have this connection with the customer side and the decision-making process. So I think it's really interesting because of this combination. This is what I really like about it.
Okay. And linking into that one, and as a last question, what kind of skill set will that person need to fit or to succeed within the revenue environment?
Yeah, I think that, yeah, of course, one of the main skills now is a kind of a negotiation, because you need to make people understand what you want and why you are defining some prices. So in the hotel industry, you probably have the general manager of the hotel who will be pushing you to make more money, and you need to explain him somehow why for a certain day you need to decrease prices, even though, yeah, we want to make more money. So this kind of negotiation skills, also some sort of communication skills are really important. But yeah, of course, then mathematical skills, yeah, being able to calculate things, these are kind of logic, but yeah, they are easier to learn, I would say. And also then thinking more about the future, as I said, I think that the relation with the artificial intelligence is really important. And then somehow I think that for the future, people will need to learn a bit of it, even though you don't need to be an expert, you don't need to be a data scientist specifically, or need to develop codes, but you need to understand, at least if your company is also moving to this direction, you need to be able to communicate with these guys, communicate with the data scientists, explain what you need, or yeah, what are your necessities, and they will also explain you what they can do. And so this combination needs to happen, and yeah, needs to be fluid. So I think that also, yeah, as I said, negotiation and communication skills, of course, some mathematical knowledge, but also trying to move at least a little bit for this direction of artificial intelligence and data science, understand which are the programming language they have, or which models you can use for your business, that you'll have a better communication with them in the future.
Okay, so speak the language that they speak, right? Not
exactly. Yeah, that's exactly. It's also connected with the negotiation and communication, but yes.
Okay, perfect. Great way to finish. Pedro Piccoli Suarez, Executive Advanced Profit Management, Artificial Intelligence at SIX. Thank you very much. Again, very insightful, because usually, as I was saying at the beginning, it's very endogamic, the almost industry. So we always tend to talk with people who agree with what we thought. Yeah. And getting someone like you from the outside of the hotel industry, but also an expert in revenue management, I think it can be very interesting for our podcast. So again, thanks for your time.
Thanks a lot, Pablo.
That was my pleasure. All for now. Hope you found it useful. Remember that you have more information on our website, www.torresconsulting.co.uk, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and Twitter. Stay well. Goodbye for now.